another technique you can use to lose more weight.
Video idea.
You mother.
Keep 'em coming.
I've got one act and one act only. Mr. Jelly in his 100 hands. I do balloons, magic, bubble, stories.
This video is not critique, it is friendly discussion and debate, aka a fun Friday night in. I'm James, I like Marmite toast and clouds. What about you? My video is about the dangerous world of weight cutting. Not Stefi Cohen per se, and of course not powerlifting per se. For sure, I ain't the guy for that. But Stefi's video was a good platform from which we can take this interesting idea and discuss it as a community. Her video is 9 months old. People are producing babies at the rate that I get to videos. Thank you for the input onto the last video. The amount of reading material that's there for me during this time, let's say, is quite substantial. I enjoy your pain having to sit through those Kino Body adverts. Conor McGregor is someone who's competed at multiple weight classes from 145, 155 and 170 where he is more at his natural weight. And this is what McGregor had to say about his weight cutting.
You'll do fucking nothing.
Wrong clip.
But I've experienced it all. I've experienced near blackouts. For the Mendez weight cut, I had no nutritionist, no nothing. I done it all myself, and it was a heavy weight cut. And then for the Aldo one, I done it correctly, and I felt okay. We had a nutritionist on board.
Dear Stefi Cohen, I stole your thumbnail. Haha. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. But I did add a box and some writing and my stupid face, so there's that. But seriously, her video is linked down below, and of course I would recommend that people actually watch her original video for full balance and context of her weight cutting experience. And her YouTube channel is Stefi Cohen.
For you nerds who want to type it in manually.
And by all intents and purposes, her weight cut actually went very smoothly.
The heat the champ is bringing.
She seemed in good spirits during it, and she was successful in performing it. Now we have to understand that her weight cut was not as extreme as we see from other people who may lose more pounds than she did over a day, over a night, for example.
My boy, Dr. Andy Galpin, helping me through this cut.
Quick shout out to Dr. Andy Galpin. And so it was good to see that Stefi used a professional who's experienced with this practice to try and make it as safe and as successful as possible. And these athletes do show incredible mental and physical endurance as they go through this brutal process. And so there has to be a level of admiration for that. But on the other side of the coin, this practice can be highly dangerous, and it is literal madness. The idea that you're going to lose large amounts of weight, which is water weight at this point, to then be able to compete in your sport at a lighter weight class or at a certain weight class that you don't naturally walk around at. And I'm sure that athletes themselves would like a way that they could almost eliminate weight cutting from their sport or reduce it in some manner. Think about this. Just before you compete in your sport, you have to lose extreme amounts of water weight, essentially dehydrating your body to a place it doesn't want to go. Basically, it's like a Bear Grylls episode or something. Then within a day or days of that brutal dehydration of your body, you're then having to compete in your sport, sometimes when people are trying to punch you in the face. And there is a very real risk of weight cutting. We've seen injuries as a direct consequence of the dehydration. We've seen injuries occur due to people, for example, fainting during the weight cut and injuring parts of their body. We've also very sadly seen fatalities from weight cutting. In addition, it may negatively affect performance in sport. For example, in mixed martial arts, fighters and pundits Daniel Cormier and Dominic Cruz talk about how people who cut weight may have a compromised chin, i.e. their ability to take a punch, to take a shot. And so it's not just the medical risks, it may also have a negative aspect of the ability of the athlete to compete within their sport. And when we talk about people feeling drained, I do indeed feel a bit drained and dizzy myself today because Hugh Grant just became my favorite actor. I'm as confused as you are. What a film. I would give a standing ovation, but I have no bottom half. And so there are some documentaries you can watch into weight cutting where you're going to get a visual experience of the brutality of this process. What was that?
And a quick interlude for your comedic responses.
And so you may be thinking, well, this weight cutting practice sounds absolute madness and there's a real risk of fatality. And so what is it exactly? Well, leading up to competition, people are of course going to decrease their weight over time, over many months and weeks. And that will be by losing fat, body fat, for example, or maintaining certain levels of muscle mass to regulate their body composition.
I'm normally about 185. Through 6 weeks of diet, I can usually diet down to about 76, 77. Like, that's where I'm optimal. And then from there, I start the water cut. So the week of the fight, the Tuesday, I'm 76.
But as they get to those imminent periods before the weigh-in for their sport, they're then going to lose water weight to try and get down to that weight. And Stefi did actually make another video about her weight cutting experiences around a month ago. And this really encapsulates this interesting topic. One of the toughest parts of being a competitive powerlifter isn't the heavy lifting. It is the cut going into the meet. It takes hours to get a competitive edge, and I wanted to give you a look into what plays out in my head before and after the meet.
And so how do you weight cut?
Well, there are several methods essentially to lose these amounts of water weight. You have saunas and sauna suits. You have people exercising in sauna suits. You have the bath methods. You have people manipulating their nutritional intake, their carbohydrate and salt intake to, if you like, stock up on water weight and then lose large amounts of water weight. There are many ways that athletes can do this. And this is how Stefi Cohen did it.
She's done eating for the day. She's going to do 3 rounds of 20 minutes in the little portable sauna. She's going to have an ice bath. And then she's going to go up to the hot tub.
And not the relaxing type of bath with bubbles, music and a Ribena. And so as you can see, Stefi is relatively in good spirits. She was successful at her cut. It didn't look highly distressful on her, and she was able to compete in her sport. However, we have people such as Cyborg, a famous female mixed martial arts fighter, who has more brutal weight cuts, as she did have to cut large amounts of weight to compete in the UFC. And as you can see, it's a very disturbing experience seeing what these people have to go through. And this is why I want your input. And it is a highly interesting phenomenon that we see in elite sport. On one hand, it's absolute madness. On the other hand, it's seemingly necessary for these people to do it. I want your views down below. Thank you very much. And another way that people can do it is by using some of the old naughty sauce, some form of diuretics. And if we take combat sports, the reason that people do this is as such. They want to compete at a lighter weight class, so theoretically they are bigger and stronger than their competition. The problem is that almost everyone is doing it. And so at this point, when we come to many combat sports, for example, you have to lose weight to compete in a lighter weight class than your natural walk-around weight, just to be able to compete against people the same size as you. So it's kind of become this vicious circle of brutality and essentially a necessary brutal process that many athletes have to go in just to compete on a level playing field. Now, I say almost all because there are examples of some people who do compete or who have competed at their natural weight. And when we look at powerlifting, of course, when we look at Stefi Cohen's video, your actual body weight in relation to how much you lift is an essential part of powerlifting. Her world record deadlift, I believe, is somewhere in the range of 4 times her body weight. And so, of course, the nature of body weight and performance in powerlifting is very closely related. And of course, a caveat to give is how much weight you have to lose, of course, can increase the risk. And the punishments for people missing weight may not just be their health. It can also be, for example, them losing money from their promised purse, the amount of money they were going to make from their sport, from their fight. It could also be them losing the chance to fight for a title, for example. And so what do they do after? Well, IV use is common. And IVs are something you would associate with being in poor medical condition, and you take an IV if you like to revive you. And so these athletes are voluntarily putting themselves in a state of body composition where they're then having to take IVs afterwards to try and rehabilitate, retrieve them, make them feel better so they can compete in their sport. An update from the last video, the body coach who is doing physical education classes for the youth.
30-minute workout every single day, Monday to Friday, where I'm going to be your PE teacher for the nation, which I thought was just going to be the UK. But actually it's turned out to be so much bigger.
Is actually donating all the money made from those videos to the National Health Service in the UK, the medical services, the hospitals. So far, he's raised £80,000. Good news at a time like this. Wishing you all the best with your health, both mental and physical at this time. It's almost as if the actual sport is just one part of the challenge, which does sound like madness. The weight cutting is absolutely an extra facet that they have to overcome to be successful in their sport. And so as always, I want your views, your opinions, your comments down below. Thank you very much. I'm James Linker, finished. Influencer is my favorite word. It's right up there with branched chain amino acids. In a time of world crisis, the fitness influencers have stepped up to the plate. From the outstanding idea of the body coach to give physical education lessons to the youth, to sadly the predictable selling of supplements to somehow try and boost your immunity with implied protection, on outward looking home workouts that are genuinely helpful for many people, to attention grabbing nonsensical creative home workouts for IG love hearts.